Okay, on to some stretches now. Okay, so we have post run. First one that I would do would be a low lunge. So just stepping forward with one leg or the other. And this one we call a 90-90. As you can see the angle here. And there really is no need to be doing this if this is really uncomfortable for you. So you can stay up here and then think about just tucking your tailbone, and the more you do that and then dig into this front heel and pull it back, you're not actually pulling it back, but that making that motion, that kind of hamstring curl motion again, you'll feel this hip flexor stretch. And then we'll lift the same arm as the knee that's on the floor and take it over to the side, which gets even deeper, because imagine one long line then from that knee all the way up to the arm. You can lean over to the side and then come back down. And then you would come into your quad stretch from there. So you can go a little bit deeper for this quad stretch so that you're not on your knee. So you can lift your foot back, take hold of it. Now, if you struggle with this, you can take a scarf or any item of clothing really that you can wrap around your foot and then pull it closer to your seat. And the further back you come, the less intense the stretch would be, and the deeper you go, the more intense that stretch will be. So you can hold that I'd hold each of these for probably around 30 to 45 seconds. And then you can come a bit deeper. So if you have a pillow, a cushion, or maybe even a foam roller, like here, you're going to come into what's called a lizard stretch. So if you can send the back leg back, now I do want you to still be active through your glutes here, because you need to hold your pelvis up, your hips up. And then you can take your front leg just a little bit wider, and maybe this is where you stay. So you're really going to feel this, not only through the hip flexor, but your adductors and your abductors. So you're like the inside of your leg. So this is a lizard stretch, a deep groin stretch, which will be very good for you. Getting into that piriformis, your psoas. And then, if you can go any deeper, you can come onto your forearms and just give it another 30 to 45 seconds there. So once you've done there, walk your hands back up slowly, and we'll come into a hamstring stretch. So same leg again, only this time you're going from your lunge to taking your hips back toward that heel. Hold your core in and flex your front foot. And again, you can have something next to you if you need to have some stability, maybe a sofa. I have yoga blocks, so you can have a yoga block either side of you, which you can pick up at the dollar store, just so you know. And that's stretching the back of that leg. Good, and then from there, so again, 30 to 45 seconds, come forward and see if you can move into pigeon pose, which I'm sure you've heard of. So take your right foot, or left foot, whichever one you're on, and just see if you can curl it underneath you. Now, the trick with this one is, because you may have your foot tucked right back here, and that is fine. And this may not even be accessible to you, which is very common in men, actually. So if you cannot do this by squaring off the hips, because you can kind of use your back leg to square it off, it's going to be redundant, because you'll be sitting on your hip and not really stretching much. So if you can get into this position, bring your left knee to meet your right foot. So we're still working on the leg in front. And then just lean over that front knee, and you'll feel a stretch through that hip. So you're getting into your glute max, your glute med, which is some of where your issue is, I think. And then again, hold that for 30 to 45 seconds. Don't forget to breathe. So this is deer pose. if you're interested. And then you can come up. So another one that I thought of, because I did mention that the child's pose, the side stretching, so the use of your back during running. So we warmed up your lats. So you can take a child's pose, so just kneel up and then send your seat back to your heels. Now if your seat doesn't get there, you can have pillows or a foam roller, anything to support you, and then just bring your head down maybe to a block or a pillow, and then walk both hands over to one side, really reaching away with the outside arm. Hold that for 30 seconds and then walk over to the other side, and then the same thing. And then back to center. And then even in child's pose, you can stretch your serratus anterior, so this muscle that wraps around here, and then your lats. So just come down and tent through your fingers, so lift your palms and reach away. Good, and then from there, you'll come onto your back. So if you do have that item of clothing that we talked about, or a scarf, or a tie, who owns a tie these days? I don't know anyone who owns a tie. All right, so I have an IT band stretch for you. So you can plant your left or right foot, depending on which one you're going to do first, and then just place the strap around the lifted leg, around the foot, the sole of the foot. So as best you can, just flex your foot that's lifted, pull your shoulders down to the mat, make sure your core is engaged, and this is going to stretch your hamstrings, so just be very cautious here. This is quite a deep stretch. So the IT band, that stabilizer that runs down the side of the leg, that begins from your hip all the way down, you're going to pull your leg across your body. So you can leave that bottom knee, that bottom foot bent, or you can extend it, but I don't want you to try and get all the way to the floor here. So the more you flex that foot, my goodness, I feel that. Try and keep your opposite hand on the floor and the shoulder on the floor, on the mat, and you'll feel a really intense stretch all the way down the side of that leg. So as soon as you start to roll over here, you're now stretching your lower back and through your torso. So don't forget to keep the foot flexed. You'll feel a difference here. If you let it go, it's a lot more passive. If you flex your foot, it's a lot more intense. And then bring it back to center. Repeat on the other side. Oh, and then I thought from there, so if you release, you can hug that knee in. It'll be a nice little counter action. And as it's hugged in, just move that knee from side to side. This is hip flossing or hip flexor flossing. So this might feel a little bit intense as well, but if you find that area, and I think you may find it as you get more to your midline, you'll feel a pull through the outer edge of the leg. And that's a nice little stretch for you there. And then finally, find that figure four stretch. So you can place your ankle just above your knee, and then maybe that's enough for you. If not, you can try and lift that leg so you can push your ankle or your foot toward your body, and then try not to lift your upper body. I mean, if you need to do that to come back down just to take hold of it, fine. But try and work on a position where you can relax your upper body so you can focus more on that stretch through the hip. And you can take hold of the back of the leg, or you can come through and take hold of the front of that leg. It's a bit more intense. And then see how you do with that. And then once you've done those few moves on one side, take a minute and just see how different your legs feel. Maybe take a happy baby in the middle, and then move to the other leg. So start with your hamstring, and then move it over, and then come back and do your flossing. And then you can work on your figure four. And that's it. And then take a moment, hug it in, roll it up, and you're good to go. So I think that's all I had for like your post-run. So hopefully you find something useful, and I mean, you might not feel anything different after the first couple of times, but it's if you're consistent you'll certainly start to feel a little bit more of a give in those muscles and maybe the fascia surrounding the muscles. All right, have fun.